Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, I bow to the Lord Vasudeva. Joy to you, friends. Stanza 70. Contentment is his who, like the ocean, calmly absorbs into himself all the rivers of desire. One, on the contrary, whose desires trickle outwardly, as if from a pond, is soon drained of energy. The point that we need to understand is that every time we think that we're giving our finding joy in the world, our energy is going out toward that. And you will find that people who live in the senses are always drained of energy. They become old before their time. They have no power of enjoyment really in anything. They are like ponds that become little shallow marshes as all their energy of even relating to the world becomes drained from them. And so it is that we must become, and this is a stanza that Sri Yukteswar, the guru of my guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, but Swami Sri Yukteswar often quoted this stanza, saying, "Be like the capacious ocean, which absorbs into itself all the rivers of desire." Let everything that you are looking for in this world seek its contentment. Let it find its contentment and its fulfillment in yourself, not outside yourself. You know, one of the best reasons for living in society is looking at the way people live and looking attentively, not just meeting people and say, "Oh, hi, Joe," and "Hi, Bill," and "Hi, Jean." No. It's looking at how they've lived for years and seeing what is it doing for them. You will find that their consciousness becomes etched on their faces, and the older they become, the more clearly etched that consciousness is. So that our body, and especially our faces, are canvases on which we etch and paint our thoughts. When we see people who are dried up in old age, and even young people who seem sort of like parchments because they have no life inside them, surely it should teach us that what they're doing is there's something wrong with it. When you have an opportunity to mix with spiritual people, when you have an opportunity to see them and see them in relaxed moments and see what makes them happy and see how even their humor is kindly, it's not unkindly, there's no bitterness in them. And when things don't go well for them, they say, "Well, it doesn't matter because I'm complete in myself." We're coming now to a time in our economy when the world is likely to be going through a period of great suffering. I mean, when jobs won't be available, when food is not available, when people are quite possibly starving. What will you do? But if you have peace in your mind, if you have peace in yourself, then even if you are starving, you just accept everything. And if you have to die, well, what does it matter? You can die peacefully. Don't cling to anything. Don't cling to your body. Don't cling to your job. Don't cling to your home, to your riches, to your bank account. All of this will be taken away from you. And the more you cling, the sooner it will be taken away and the worse a wrench it will be. But when you can learn to be completely content in yourself and all that you see outside, instead of wanting it, you just feel the bliss in yourself. The more you can do that, the more you will find that you have of that bliss. Bliss comes from even-mindedness. Bliss comes from non-attachment. Bliss comes from giving up desires. Bliss comes from not having harmful emotions like anger or greed or lust or passion of any kind. Bliss comes from being completely peaceful. Bliss comes from loving people instead of hating them, from wishing them well and not wishing them ill, from harmlessness, from forgiving and not from wanting vengeance on them for mistreating you. Even if people mistreat you, if you can take it calmly, you can thank them because they've reminded you of who you really are and what you really want. And so you will find that in all life's experiences, whatever comes to you, it will remind you of that higher self. And it will be like a river feeding this lake until the lake becomes overflowing with bliss. But it will come to you only when you give up longing for the world, longing for human company, longing for human fulfillments, longing for all the things people long for. All they're really looking for is something that reminds them of that inner self. But once you attain God, you attain that which is changeless and yet ever new. This was a lovely addition that my Guru made to Shankara's definition of God, Satchidananda, ever existing, ever conscious, and my Guru added, ever new bliss. It never changes, and yet it's constantly new. The bliss of the soul erupts within you constantly. It's a never-ending discovery of how wonderful it is to be one with Him. Many people think that heaven and God are just sort of, you get tired of them. That's because they get tired of the things they know. There's a story my Guru used to laugh over of a man in heaven who was phoned from hell by a friend of his, and he wanted to know how life was up there. And the man in heaven said, well, in the morning you meditate and chant and pray. And then he said, oh, for heaven's sake, and what do you do at lunch and at noon? He said, well, you meditate, chant, and pray. Good heavens, and what do you do in the evening? Oh, for a change, you pray, then chant, and then meditate. And the man said, oh, you ought to come down here. We have lots of fun. Well, this was just a master's way of explaining that that which is hell for the yogi is heaven for the worldly person, and vice versa. But what he was saying is that the hell that people go to, they think it's fun, but it doesn't give them what they want. They're always restless in themselves. They're always without peace, and to the peaceless, how is happiness possible? So find that peace within. Find it by non-attachment. Find it by always keeping yourself centered in your own deepest self. Joy to you.